So one of the things that I think it would be kind of a cool thing to touch on,
Yeah.
and Chris, you can jump in on this too, and,
Sure.
and Dave as well, because I want to hear the history of this a little bit. The whole seminar thing. I mean, we're starting to kind of talk to some schools about potentially going out there and kind of bringing those back. And Dave, that's been something that's been a staple for Dave for years and years. That was one of the ways you probably built the company, right?
Yeah, that'd be a Dave question.
I can't imagine how many seminars that you've done in your
What, total?
Yeah.
He does one every weekend.
Right.
I mean, essentially, right?
Right.
With the weekend crew in here.
When they were smaller, there were over 100 before I dialed back and had Jim start doing it.
Holy shit.
Because they were smaller, so 10, 20 people. The trick was I just wanted to break even.
Yeah.
That was kind of the trick. Most of the time you didn't, but it's like, okay, I only lost 200. I can make it up on the next one.
Right.
And so then it would, and they were small because it'd be like contracting somebody that had a gym and say they want to have a seminar. And it's like, okay, how do we want to do this? Do I want to collect the money? Do you want to collect the money? Like, what's going to happen? And what's the minimum number of people? Because I never wanted to cancel one. That was a big thing. And I think I only had to do it once. And there was only one person that had to be refunded. Because to me, to have to refund like 5-10 people, not only am I going to feel like a failure because I didn't make enough, to be able to break even on it, they're going to know that I'm a fucking failure because I'm giving it back because I couldn't sell it out. And so that's why most of them didn't make money, because it's like 5-10 people. I remember once and this is one that Mark Bell was not associated with. I think it was Jason Brunel or somebody else, but there was like 23 people. I'm like, holy fuck. I made like $350. It's like, holy fuck,
so worth it.
And that was after flights and everything else. I'm like, I legitimately just made $350 in one weekend. And I'm like, well, not really. Like, I squatted at West Side. I flew out right after that, was still having the blue liniment on me, horse liniment, getting on the plane, right? So I'm like, I got to count Friday because I really didn't work Friday. And I flew, so it was like 4 days, and I started breaking it down. Like, I didn't really make that much. I would have made more if I just went back to work.
Right.
And anyhow, that's kind of how it started. With that, I don't know how much that helped to really grow the company, but I will say that while I was tracking those in the earlier days, and even when we started with, there was a West Side seminar first, because I was doing them for Louis, then it was Tour de Force, which is just basically changing the name. And then was it Learn to Train? There was something before the Learn to Train, but I was tracking the surveys and all the other stuff. And the average seminar attendant was spending 4 times more in a year than what a normal customer was. So I'm like, okay, there's something here. I don't know what that is. And then because you're building a relationship with that person, there's obviously going to be more referrals than what you're going to see otherwise. Then with the was it the Learn to Train?
Learn to Train, they started in like 2010.
So the Learn to Train, there was a powerlifting experience or something like that.
That was after LTT.
There was something else.
Sports Performance.
Sports Performance. So there's all these other ones. It didn't start to like begin to go the other way until later, until they got bigger. Like when they started to get bigger in the 80, there became a point in time where they were breaking even and we would donate the money to charity. So anything that was over, that was profitable, was going to Make-A-Wish or something like that. And then over a period of time, as they were, I guess you would say, profiting, we started to pay for the hotel rooms, pay for the guests, pay for coaches, pay for people that were coming out to help with the Learn to Train. And when you have 7 racks and 5 coaches per rack, that starts adding up. Then all of a sudden it's like, well, fuck, here we are. We got this big thing going on. We need 120 people just to break even on putting these people up. And that's not paying them. That's just paying their flight, paying the hotel, food. I mean, it's not like they're making bank coming out to coach, but that's when things started to go backwards in a way, because then we weren't able to pull that. And it's like, well, fuck, now we lost 10 grand. Now we lost 5 grand. This isn't worth doing anymore unless we can figure out how to dial it back and get everybody to come coach for free again or something like that. So that was when it pivoted to the sport performance. Because with that, you only got to pay the speakers.
Right.
You don't have to pay anybody to coach the lifts and all the other stuff, but that goes up because then the speakers want to be paid, so it didn't really it helped lower it some, but not that much, because what you thought you were saving is now going into the speaking costs.
Right.
Now, what helped me a lot with those earlier ones is clinics. I should say all the clinics that I've spoken at or other people's seminars, I never let them pay me, so I go on my own dime. I just saw it as marketing. It's the live and learn pass. That's just how my brain works. So the first sport performing ones worked out really well, because as soon as I would ask these people, they would not take any money from me. It's like, no, we're going to come out. It's like, well, this could work, but then it's only going to work for so long. And then I think 2018, something like that, we pulled back because Alicia was running.
Yeah, I think that's when you started.
The last one was here. It was like Alan Cosgrove.
Yeah.
Because I was at that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That may have been the last one, and I think you kind of strained over to the train your asses off.
Yeah, Alicia ran that last one that was here, and it was just like, God damn it, we cannot. I don't want to say we cannot, but we were not able to figure out how to make this fucking work. And to make it worth it, right? Because you got overtime of people coming out, and so you got all these other expenses that are just compiling on this, and you can only charge so much because there's 80 people. You can't. Why now in today's world, I see people are charging $4,000 for some stupid ass shit. So that's kind of where that is. So it's.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, it did. I'm not going to sit here and say it didn't help. It did definitely help.
I was going to say, and this is back to the two sides of the company type thing. We did get some good back end sales off of those. You look at people like Chris, you look at people like Gina, Mike Morellis, David Allen, Matt Mills.
Tons.
I mean, and those guys, they became part of Elite FTS in a sense too. You know what I'm saying? And so it was good, but there was always something magic when they walked into especially at the old place. Well, dirty walls and it's like.
The one thing that needs to be reestablished is through those. It was. How am I going to say this without blowing my ego through that? I'm a good judge of character when it comes to people who know their shit in coaching and those that don't. It doesn't take me very long to sit down and talk to somebody and be like, okay, I don't know. I'm impartial. It's going to take another conversation to be able to know what's going on, or this person's completely full of shit.
Yeah.
Or this person is on their game. Those seminars put me in front of a lot of people that ended up becoming team members. Because from what I've found, the best coaches, the best trainers, and the best lifters for that matter. Well, not lifters so much, but they're unknown. Yeah. Because they're in the gym doing the fucking job. So they're in the gym training people. Yeah. It's like nobody knew DeFranco until after DeFranco was very successful at training the athletes in his gym.
Yeah. Right.
Then they knew who he was. So it's, in my mindset, is like, how many other ones are out there that are like that? Well, those are the people that are paying to come to seminars and clinics and stuff like that. Then you're talking to them and it's like, this fucker, first off, he knows his shit. Secondly, he knows how to disseminate the information to the client base he's working with, which is huge. Yeah. Because anybody can re-quote somebody or read a book. And, my memory is for shit, when it comes to regurgitating things that I read. But I can read it and know how to apply it. And that's kind of a different skill. Where I wanted those people that could take the information and apply it. Yeah. Where it's a great article if they can write the great article, or it's a great podcast if they really know what they're talking about. But when the tires hit the pavement, fucker needs to be able to do what they say they can do. And that's what over the last few years has been hard. So people will ask, why do you not have new coaches? Why do you not have new athletes? Well, how the fuck am I going to vet them? Because if all I got to do is go off social media and the internet,
so much noise.
I'd rather not have anybody.
No.
Yeah.
Right? Because I can't tell from that. Yeah. There's so much in nonverbal communication or just sitting and talking to somebody for a while. It's like, this could be good. And then it usually worked out really well for them too, because where they lacked was marketing, exposure, and that kind of stuff. So it's like, this works out. We just need your brain to be able to help our customers get better, to get stronger. In exchange for that, we're going to give you exposure that you can leverage any way you want. I don't give a fuck. I ain't going to do online training, so then it kind of works, in that way. So that was one area that I found other ways, to find and make those connections, but not the same. Not the same, because there's so many people.
Yeah, and I mean, nowadays, I think that would be virtually impossible to go off somebody's YouTube or Instagram.
Please.
And
You couldn't.
You don't know.
No way.
Like when we were talking about that, like in vetting people and, 2 or 3 conversations. I mean, I think of a guy like Brandon Smitley that came to like 2 or 3 of these things, you know what I'm saying? Before we were like, oh, this guy's legit. And I mean, Brandon comes up with some great coaching stuff, you know what I mean? And I don't know, had he not been here for those things, if he would be a part of things as he has.
Well, we've had people out that have, and not just us, but when John would bring people out. So I'll use that as a more concrete example. That way I'm not calling out anybody that we actually brought out. And so when John would bring people out, and they're well known, so they're very well known in the industry, big followers and all that, and you listen to these people talk, you're like, do you even train anybody?
Yeah.
Or do you even have a patient? So say it was a chiropractor or a physical therapist or whoever he would have out, then you realize you don't even have patience. Like, I get it, you got an advanced degree and that's great.
Theoretical.
And you can speak great. I mean, what you're saying is great. I don't disagree with anything that you're saying, but you live in a different world. You live in a meta world, right? The new Facebook world. They live in they're going to be great meta trainers, right? So there's that way, but that's only one person. But on the other side, we've also had people that would come out with John, or even people with ourselves that would come out very, very popular. Then you get talking to him, you're like, you know what, this fucker's for real.
Yeah.
It's more rare than what you think, but it happens to where, no, this is certainly for real. And that's happened enough times that I used to be like completely against like influencers. I know, fuck them, I don't want to talk to them. But there's a lot, they do know what the hell they're doing. Yeah. But most, it's a different type of thing. But unlike again, with that, you got one person that you're basically able to vet in a day.
Yeah.
And that's just one person. Where to be able to rip through, you got 100 people. It's like, okay, here, there's these here, and then there's that. And even with, there's been some that have come through the train your ass off, but that's even hard to vet because I'm so focused on just busting their ass and coaching them that I'm not focused on their ability to coach, or I don't even care. Because all I care about is their squat, their bench, their deadlift, and teaching them the movements.
Yeah, it's funny because just even thinking back in my own history of seminar, I mean, I talked to you years and years ago. I got connected with you through Matt Mills because he was my coach at the time. But what I liked about coming to seminars is like, dude, I didn't have the fucking money for it. Like, I was just like, well, looks like I'll be sleeping in my car. Right. But it does. The crowd that the seminars draws is like my people.
Yeah.
Is like your people, right? Like it's people that have similar experiences who may be coaches, who may be athletes or whoever. And it allows you to connect with that network. Because at the time, like even 5-6 years ago, like that Instagram, social media, whatever, was a different landscape that you didn't necessarily have that level of connection with. It's like you didn't know like who to trust, right? It's like I got connected with you through Matt Mills. So like I knew Matt. I knew that he was writing for us for Elite FTS. And I was like, oh, Matt's really good. Matt says these guys. It's like Matt says if I need to buy something, these are the guys.
Yeah.
And that's as simple as it was. And then all of a sudden it was like, I need a back extension. You're like, cool, I'll sell you the one that then we're going to make a fucking brand new one the next day.
Hey, I got burned with that too. Dude. I got the old lat pull down like 6 weeks later we come with a new one. But yeah, man, the relationships through those seminars I think they've been great. But like Dave said, it's a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of work. And maybe they got too big, right? Like maybe, I don't know, like maybe we went.
Well, the LTT that I came out for, that was like one of the greatest 2-day experiences that I think I've ever had in a seminar. And I upgraded because you had 2 price points. You had come out for the lectures or the VIP where you got to partake in the training. And I remember getting the email and I looked at the speaker list and I was just like, I'd never been to a seminar outside of Perform Better in Long Beach. And I was like,
don't say that around here.
Well, but here's the thing, you look at that, and then I looked at the list of speakers that you had, and I was like, I'm flying to Ohio.
No shit.
Like instead of driving to fucking Long Beach.
Well, I had the same thing because I was in New England, so that was the same idea.
Well, and it's like learning from a guy that's wearing a suit, like a shirt and tie, You know what I mean?
The khaki polo.
But then you're looking at these guys like, okay, these guys definitely walk the walk, right?
Well,
You know what I mean?
it
It's
had
like
more application to what I wanted
you were
to
trying
do.
to do, yeah.
Like I knew I wanted to work with kids. One of the speakers that was out here was Jeremy Frey talking about training high school kids. I was like, okay, that resonates with me.
Yep.
Okay, and then you had Josh Bryant was out here. Well, Josh Bryant programmed for me when I was doing single ply. It's like, okay, I have that connection. I knew Molly Galbraith. I knew Julia superficially. And so you come out here and then you just meet all these people. And I was just like, okay, I like their swag because that's what I first started doing. I like the articles. And now the people are fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And that was just I miss those old seminars. Like it sucks to probably put everything together, but man, those were an absolute game changer to introducing me to the culture of what Elite FTS is and how important the education component, how important the relationship component is. And yeah, I mean, I don't know if I don't come to that seminar, I don't know if I get as vested in the company as quickly and as deeply as I did.
I had Julian Christian out for my first multiply meet.
Yeah.
I was like, what the
They just showed up.
Fucking life went full circle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it was always somebody I would listen to at a seminar. Or I'd learn from their stuff online or their articles and this and that, and they just rolled up.
Well, it's like the first Arnold that I ever competed at. I can't even list all the elite team members that were out there that weren't lifting, that were just helping.
Yeah.
I remember I took my first squat and I was so cranked on nose torque that Bob comes up to me. He's like, take a deep breath, dude. Like, relax. You're too cranked on nose torque. Like, back off.
Take
and
it
I'm
down
like,
a notch.
and I had no idea who he was. You know, Brian Carroll ended up telling me later who that was. Oh shit. Okay. But I was wearing Elite FTS gear. I was in the orange suit, and he took the time to come up to me and walk me through what it takes to get amped, but not overly amped for the squat. And I never met the dude a day in his life.
Yeah. Even in our meet, I mean, I saw Christian and Julie when they weren't working with me. They were running the rack for other competitors.
Yeah.
Just out of the kindness of their heart. Like they were just there.
Yeah.
They were just participating and helping, and it was so cool to see that. But again, I agree that those relationships and the people that you know and that you connect with, it's so important to have those opportunities. Right? Because you can follow somebody online. You like Dave was saying, like you don't necessarily know who that person is. You know that if you rolled up to a meet and you saw somebody in Elite FTS gear or the team Elite FTS, it's like they're helping other people.
Well, it just goes to show too is like those seminars just got so out of hand that, and the fact that like the people that you brought in to coach, like their whole crew wanted to come with them too. You know what I mean? And Dave's not gonna tell them no. You know what I mean? So now you got like one guy showing up with 8 other dudes. You know what I mean? So now like our gym is packed. Like, I mean, you couldn't move. Like, I mean, they got to the point where those seminars were so packed. And the biggest part of it was the morning training sessions.
Yeah.
Before the seminar started.
Yeah, because you guys would do the Uggs then.
Yeah, and then everybody wanted to come and watch that. You know what I mean? So they grew into a monster, man. And it was like, I mean, hell, we didn't even have outdoor plumbing in that gym. Like people were pissing outside. Yeah, you pee on the rocks. I love when like Andy Deck would come out. It's like, can I use those stones? I'm like, yeah, go ahead. And like everybody's pissing on them all day long, and like peeing behind the dumpsters, and it's just like, you know, I mean, it was crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, some of them were freezing our asses off. It was colder and shit, hotter than hell.
It was a prequel to train your ass off. You freeze it off first.
Dude, the one, it was like Memorial Day weekend. It had to be 100 degrees out.
That was one of the first ones that I came to, and it was like 90 degrees.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is terrible.
And I'm, you know,
I love it.
Yeah, I'm always one of those like, well, I can save us money. I'll get this big grill that my buddy's got, and I'll cook for everybody. And dude, I'm like I'm dying. Like I'm over this hot grill and I'm flipping burgers and cooking corn. I'm like, oh my god, what a mistake. You know, and like I think Tracy like the next year was like, hey, can you get that grill? I'm like, no, he sold it. Never doing that shit again.
Yeah.
But those things were awesome. And I mean, again, coming into the company not really knowing, and then I mean that first LTT you did it by yourself essentially. I think Todd Brock helped you. And
yeah, that's kind of how they all start, though, because
Yeah.
there's been different iterations of each one of these things. Even the train your ass off is like in a beginning
it
phase.
just grows.
It just starts organically
Yeah.
with like me and one other person. Like, hey, let's just do this, and then it just kind of
Morphs
can
into
balloon
whatever.
from there. And a big part of what you're talking about, with Julia, Christian, Joey, all these other people, is some of these we've had. There's employees here that have been here 10 years.
Yeah.
It's decades.
Yeah.
Not decades, but I mean, half the staff's probably tenured.
Well, I mean, Ken's 20. What? Lori's got to be close.
Yes.
Right?
So I mean, there's a culture, there's a community that's kind of built into that. with our team members and coaches, there's a lot of them that have been around 10, 15 years. So Julia, Christian, Joey, all these people, even ones that I've had problems with.
Yeah.
That I'm now really like Brian. I'm very good friends with Brian. And there was, even with the time that you were talking about, there was kind of like a little divide, between Brian and myself and some of the other ones. But yet our team people are still like, we're going to help you out. Because that's in their DNA to be able to do that. So even if there's beef, I don't even know if there was beef, it was just ego, like ego, kind of battling during that time. But it still took second, to everything else, because I'm still going there to see Brian total all-time world record. And I don't like the guy at the time, but I want him to break this world record because I know the story, I know what he went through, and I'm not going to miss that. Where some people are like, what the fuck are you, like, don't even ask, don't worry, this is just my deal, I remember watching live streams of when he did a meet down there in Florida, where it was another one he was trying to do it. And the person I was training with at the time was like, what the fuck you want? Like, he's going to do it this time. I'm like, why do you give a fuck? I'm like, dude, I give a fuck because I give a fuck. Don't ask me why. But anyhow, that when I say you can find those people, you find those people, then those people are what kind of go full circle, like what you're talking about. And then they represent that brand. And then what happens is, if it is an event like what we're talking about, it self-vets who comes, right? Because we did a couple business seminars, and this is how I can say this. The business seminars are a different demographic. The business seminars are 50% of the people that come in here are fake ass fucks that are just out to make money in the industry. The other seminars, that's not the case. I think what happens with the other seminars, the other events, is those people that are out just for that, making money's the higher priority outside of helping people, are too intimidated to come because of who the speakers are and who's there. They don't feel like they're going to be in their place. Right? They're like, I don't want to go there because maybe they have for real imposter syndrome, so they're not comfortable. But who does come? The people that come are the ones that are actually they actually give a fuck. And then when they come because they actually give a fuck, they're rewarded by being around a bunch of other people that may actually give a fuck more than they do. So then over a period of time and being around each person, being around Julia, being around these other team members, then they go back thinking, you know what, I could probably give a fuck a little more because what they did exceeded the expectation of who the person was that came in. So then they're going to leave and want to exceed the expectations of whoever they're going to be around. And that's kind of the live, learn, pass on is more than just the words, so you see it in the events, you see it in the tenure, you see it in these other type of situations with that. So it's never really a question of if, there's going to be events, it's how, there's going to be events. So they always change. Like the West Side Seminar had to morph into it, something that was more block oriented, which was more the Tour de France. And then that goes into, I'm still forgetting one. There was something before the Learn to Train. I know it. I can't remember what it was for the life of me. And then there was the, the ones after that.